But I'm sure, like you say, we could use this money to help out a lot of these infrastructure things that you mentioned. That argument is one they're using, and I've seen it.
Yeah, well, I have a problem with all the alliances advertising, because the way I read it, if we needed a new school, you'd have to ask their permission. If we needed to plow the roads, you would have to ask their permission.
Well, I read in the News Monitor.
What's your name?
Mike Hershey. I live in Fairbanks. I read in the News Monitor not too long ago that the difference between what the oil companies are making in revenue and the companies that are advertising in the newspaper are making for revenue is very, I mean, it's more than, the oil companies are not making more than half of the companies that are advertising in the newspaper are making. So they're making billions and billions of dollars, these companies in Alaska that are working up on the North Slope and they're supplying flow line pipe and all those other places are making millions and millions of dollars off of that stuff. Making more than the state is making. Yeah.
I'm looking for somebody new. Lisa.
I believe that Sarah wants this plan for about 2 years. Remember that? She gets the data that she needs. She can come and meanwhile correcting the access problem. That she'll come in and come back and close the windfall profits loopholes and go to more of a gross tax plan. After we have like 1,000 new explorers, which will take away the monopoly problem. And the new explorers will have to turn over their data also. One of the key themes here is that this hybrid with the net, you get everyone's books open. And as she's stated repeatedly, she wants it to be numbers driven. She's got to get the numbers to have anything be numbers driven. So, and the fact that they've had PPT for 14 months and the big three have not really reinvested anything, they just bought back their stock, proves that PPT is not doing us any good and it's not the adequate incentive. But the fact of the matter is we don't want the big three to control any more of our oil interests for this country. We want to bring in thousands of new producers. And this rolls out the red carpet. It says, you know, the old legacy ones are getting what we need there. We closed that loophole and we're laying out some credits. We're taking away the loophole of the corrosion. We're opening up the crosstalk between departments. We're having the books thrown wide open so everything can be clear and equitable. And then at that time when all these new producers come up, because at the same time she's correcting the access problems, the big pipeline is controlled by the ARC and that's pretty well regulated. But the feeder lines, the DNR needs to go back through and licensing rights away. They can gain some control there. And so that the access is what's going to drive 1,000 new producers to come up here, because Alaska is the most stable place to produce in the world, and there's plenty of capital in the world and in this country for explorers. So the roadblock is the access, and once the access is open and they know that Palin's going to do it, then thousands of new producers will come up here, and we want all their books to be open to us as well. So this hybrid is a good operative mode for the next few years while all this is transpiring. And then at that time, we can see that, you know, as it is right now, there's about 50% windfall profits going on right now. We'll be able to see all that with each field and different leases, and we'll be able to tighten up on that. And but this is a good thing to pass right now, and you know, come back maybe in a couple of years and champion a gross profits thing and fight your fight there to, you know, cut out the windfall profits that we're going to be seeing. You know, it's 86 today, it's going to be 100 tomorrow, it's going to go to 200 because there's world peak oil. So this is the right time to, you know, get behind her, let her, you know, give her an opportunity to do her plan, get the data, and then from the data you can see where the loopholes are, close the loopholes. Meanwhile, we'll have a bunch of people rushing up because of the credits and the net profits. You know, that means that they can deduct their costs of going and mining heavy oil or going out to the sea. Bring everybody in, bust up the monopolies. It's a good plan. I think you should get behind it. I think you shouldn't go down there and pick it apart. You should give her a chance to see what happens, let it ride, and then gather up information for in 2 years from now, if more loopholes aren't closed, we've got the data, close the loopholes.
think there's a lot of people of that mind that at least put some of this in place, if not all of it, and then see what happens thereafter, because obviously if they don't have some of the information and don't completely understand it and where we're headed, then it's obviously hard to make some big decisions based on the lack of information. So this will make it more productive discussions in the future, there's no doubt about it. But still, we don't want to change the tax policy every other year. I agree with that concept. We shouldn't do that.
I've been looking, excuse me, my voice is tightening up on me. I gotta leave here in a minute, so as I'm going out the door, I want to say this. You can take any problem and make it complicated. Opening all these doors, all the things this lady here was just talking about, and waiting 2 years to do something else. You know, it's a problem that's got a simple answer. You put people on this pipeline that can count gallons of oil, how much is pumped out of the ground and goes down that pipeline of so many gallons, and we're going to charge you so much per barrel. And you do all of your exploring, and you pay for the freight down, and you do all of the things that companies normally do, and don't come back with your hand out to the state of Alaska for these so-called incentives. As simple as that. That's all you got to do. And then you don't need all these accountants and all of this rigmarole that they're talking about, and the ACES bill. You don't need none of it. You just need somebody who can count oil. Count it with barrels.
It was a GAO report that came out this year that said in the Gulf of Mexico, none of those things increase production. None of the incentives.
Yeah, and I believe it.
Dave, is there a proposed or draft bill that was presented to the legislature dealing just with the gross production tax?
2 years ago, we had an amendment to PPT that was a gross bill. I know Representative Crawford is doing a gross bill right now.
So how do we get access to it, see what it looks
Well, I
like?
think as soon as he introduces it in this legislature, it'll be public.
But you could probably look back at what was intended before on the basis system and look up oil and gas legislation and probably figure out Mascara.
I think it would be valuable for anybody who's interested in this subject to do that and look at that and compare it with this ACES thing and see what you like and don't like about it.
Randy, in the United States, our federal income tax system, we have a tax on the net profit. You don't go by the gross. You don't charge McDonald's hamburgers a tax based on how many hamburgers they sell. That'd be the easiest way, I guess, if you look at the sign or something. But we allow them to take legitimate deductions, and if some of their equipment unexpectedly goes down, light bulb unexpectedly blows out or something, that's a legitimate write-off. I'm a little bit concerned with one thing in Sarah Palin's plan. She wants to disallow deductions for certain types of breakdowns, certain types of things, specifically corroded pipelines, and her criteria has to do with negligence, the gross negligence issue that we had before, but her criteria is unexpected failure. And that troubles me a little bit because that sort of criteria is not in the federal income tax system, and I think we should kind of model after that since it's been in practice for so many years. And sometimes when you're trying to get the good out of something, you don't just take it all apart and polish everything up just because you're trying to avoid an unexpected thing. I mean, sometimes on my Ford truck, the starter goes out, it's unexpected, you got to replace it. If I had a business hauling stuff around, that should be a legitimate expense. I'm also troubled about that thing that she wants to make it retroactive. She wants to go back and disallow the deductions for the